The old man built. The old man built. The old man built. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality restricted from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds.
Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Nathan, otherwise known as Old Man Builds. What's going on, guys? Gonna have a fun show talking about atoms today. Pretty interesting topic. Do you really think that they're actually built the way that they say they are? Funny thing, when I originally looked at this, and we built it out, I want to say this. I didn't think atoms themselves looked right. And I'm coming around to the fact that they're getting better, but they're still not right. So, as you saw in the thumbnail, we looked at close to the traditional atom. They have a center that they say is protons and neutrons, and then outside of the electrons. And do the electrons actually go out and orbit like that they say? Well, I'll be honest with you, man. In building the RAV, yeah, there's satellites that build out there just by themselves. So how are they doing it? Well, they basically have a sheath zone that's out there. And on the sheath zone, they create a curl. And on that curl, it creates what we see as a plasmoid most of the time. So when anything builds out in energy, you got to understand, I don't think that everybody has this correct. The transverse wave, they keep saying it's a motion going up and down. Well, what's the problem with that? The problem is that's just a linear point of view. It's not correct for a 360-degree planet view or a 360-degree plasma view or a center of a core of something that's circular. That doesn't make any sense. So what does make sense is a spherical structure that covers the entire thing all the way around it, right? Now we get into the correct geometry of what's going on. You see, you think the wave just goes like this, right? But that's not what it's doing. It's building out in spheres like this, all the way out from the outside. So as soon as you create a plasma structure on the inside, then on the outside they build out in those zones. And what happens is energy goes and it'll go in the outside of that zone in that spherical structure, and then it'll tie up and it'll immediately create a little satellite out there. And that'll be your electron. It's proven in plasma physics that it happens this way, especially with the RAV that we deal with on a daily basis. So you're getting an electron out there at all times. The controversy is more in the center. Are there a bunch of little balls hanging out in there or not? I'm going to say this. When we preset a cathode, and you saw this in the thumbnail, is that it has little dots that are sitting out there. And you may get confused and say, oh my God, you created an atom. Look at the inside. You have protons, neutrons, you got the right stuff in there, and then you have circular zones on the outside. My God, you got it. Well, it's incorrect. That is a cathode being set with a structure in it that will have frequencies in it that will set the outside. You say, well, what's the difference between that and the inside? Well, number one, it's not balls. It's actual cavernous structures that go in there and create the harmonics that are going on. It's not balls at all. It's not the inside. It's not the proton-neutron relationship you think it is. So even in that aspect, it would be wrong to consider it in that way. What is the truth? For every element created, they have a different resonance frequency. And because they have a different resonance frequency, so you sit in different zones. Therefore, as one builds out in any spherical structure, the next one builds out in the next zone, each one of them carrying its own resonance frequency. That is 100% correct. So when we look at that, did it have to be little balls in the center? No. It could just be one zone after another. As they build out in a spherical structure, You get one zone, the next zone, the next zone, the next zone, and every single zone themselves will have a different frequency. When you have a different frequency, you have a different atomic number to it as well. Therefore, those things can build out and create the atom itself. You didn't need little balls in the center. What you needed to understand was how everything built out in the energy that it possesses. You see, in the center, you can have something that's preset for every atom. It's entirely possible it's there, but it's never going to be the balls you think of. It's going to be a cavernous structure because you're talking about frequency and resonance between frequencies. That's why it would be a cavernous structure, because it must create the sound that's needed. It must create the resonance that's needed, the harmonic. That's what a lot of people don't understand, or when they talk about an atom, they aren't understanding. Very few, uh, besides Walter Russell, really understood this. You're building harmonics. You're literally building sound. You're building resonance and sound. That's why it works. So what happens when you do this in water? Say if I just want to put sound in water, if I take ultrasound to water, what happens? Well, the water comes up, the sound comes up, and there's a bubble, and what it'll do is it'll go in the inside of the bubble and create a prism of light on the inside. That light itself is so contained in there and so pressurized at that point that it turns into plasma on the inside. That's an actual physics experiment. There's no question that it works. So what does that have to do with everything that we're looking at? Well, it's actually hollow in the inside. That's the problem. It built out the plasma all the way around it, but it's hollow in the inside of it. There's just the outside layer that has the plasma itself, but the inside's completely hollow. So it makes you question how atoms are built, because everything in nature is a repeating pattern. The only difference is how you confine things. It's not the energy so much, it's how you confine things. So now that we know that, we start to look at this stuff a little different. When we build out the rabbit, it immediately builds out a satellite. But as soon as it builds out a satellite out there, we realize we have an electrical structure that's out there just sitting by itself. As you continue to build out layers upon the rev, you get a secondary satellite that appears, and so on and so forth. So what's going on here? Well, when you build the resonance signatures in the center, they have an energy value. And as you add more layers, you compress more energy values in them. Therefore, on the outside, the sheath layers that are built out there that aren't seen yet now become visible because there's more energy in them. As there's more energy in them, it gives you a chance to build out another satellite that goes out there. It's the compression of energy itself that's causing the satellites to build on the outside. The more you compress that energy, the more that these other layers come out. We see this when we temporarily compress it with capacitance. We add capacitance to the circuit. What does it do? Is it compresses the inside layer quickly. Therefore, the outside, you'll see rings build. But they're actually not rings, they're spheres. So every time that you do that, you build them out. And what happens? If you leave that energy too long in there, it'll actually start to build out a plasmoid in there. Those are your satellites. So an electron is 100% real, the way they come out, the way that they describe them, it's actually true. So it's the center you have to worry about. Now, one thing on this, guys, is there's a defining layer on the outside that nobody really talks about with this, and it's a problem with the atom and how you see it. Because they don't understand the spherical structure of anything on the inside, they wouldn't understand the outside. The outside has a spherical structure as well. They usually call this, just the outside layer, the crust. I don't know how you want to say it, the shielding that they put together on the outside. What is that actually? It's the environment pushing back. That's the environment pushing back on the actual atom that builds out. Energy builds out in spheres like this. Everything in the universe pushes back on it and compresses it. It's setting a boundary. As soon as the center one starts, it says an outside boundary set. That right there is your outside layer of your atom. It's 100% needed in every single one of them, or else they don't exist. Some people say atoms aren't real. Well, plasma structures are, and everything's built out of plasma. And if you build it out of a plasma structure, you're definitely getting atoms because they're the same exact thing as the way planets are built. It's the same exact way as plasma physics is built out. All of it's the same. All of it. They just call them different names. Why? Because the environmental conditions different. That's it. They're literally the same thing. It's trying to debate why a plasmoid and ball lightning are different. That's because your environment's different. That's it. The energy didn't change. The environmental condition changed. A lot of times we get into that. A lot of the energy doesn't change much throughout the entire universe. The environmental condition does. At every point the environmental condition changes, it changes how the energy reacts to it. That's really the truth of it. Atoms exist, absolutely, and they exist inside those little shells. What are the shells most likely made of? Carbon. It's one of the elements and most things are made of. When they get a structure, sometimes all it is building out parts of the structure out there in order to get it to solidify. That's it. And it takes time to do it. It doesn't happen right away. The time scales are different though. When you say that, you go, why is that different? Because everything has its own time scale. It's never equal. When physics says that everything does everything equally, it's never is. Never. It never is. Energy's not conserved. I'm sorry, it's not. It doesn't work that way. It can't work that way. We talk about atoms, we talk about structure. The inside structure of the atom is most likely a hollow center of compressed, whatever the space is. I shouldn't say hollow. It seems hollow to us, but it's not. It's like air. You get a bunch of air around, you say, well, that's hollow. I can poke my hand through it and everything else. But what happens in any structure? When you compress something down to a finite point, it pushes back. And that's what's going on in the center of an atom. It pushes it back and creates a structure on the inside. That's what it is. It takes whatever environment that's out there and it structures it around it. So what will happen is that'll compress. As it compresses, it builds out layers upon it. Every layer that builds out upon it is forced inside by all the pressures of everything else as it tries to push outside. It's always in rotation. It's no different than a magnet in rotation. As you rotate a magnet, it builds out layers, right? But it's always trying to pull it back in. It's an important factor because that's what gravity is. It's the same condition to create gravity. But it's not all magnetism. That's one of the biggest misunderstandings that goes on in this world. It's an electromagnetic effect. Okay? It can only be created in an electromagnet. It cannot be created in a regular magnet. It's not capable of doing it the right way. It's always an electromagnet. So when we do this stuff, you got to realize how everything builds out. It builds a center that you can't see that there's anything in there, okay? But then each layer builds out, and each layer builds out with the frequency and a resonance to it, okay? And then the next one, the next one. That's why everything in this universe has a resonance frequency to it where it'll actually change the condition of whatever that thing is. Go over to any metal, you can find the resonance frequency. It'll change how it operates in nature every time. That's why, because there's a condition set in it. At every time that each atom is set, there's a condition set in it. You think that rock has no resonance to it. Why would you? It's not normally electrically conductive in any way, right? Some are, depending on what materials are inside, but most aren't. What's the problem? The problem is inside every single rock, there's atoms. And in every atom, they're built a certain way. And if you find the right frequency of them, they become conductive. This is why people get crazy about, oh my God, you have paper, it's non-conductive, it can't be conductive. But if you put it in a high voltage field without very many amps to it, it saturates it and it becomes conductive. You go, well, that shouldn't be possible. It shouldn't, but it is. You see that the atoms in that paper still had a resonance frequency. Once you reach it, somewhere in there, It now becomes conductive. It goes from a non-conductor to a semiconductor. That's just the nature of it. That means that if you simply find the resonance of any single thing that's out there, you can change how it operates in nature. What's more importantly is the gravitational effect that you understand from an atom. It must have it. It must create its own gravity well. You don't think of atoms as something that has gravity, but they do. Everything must have gravity. You see, it can't build out in pressurized zone inward and outward without a gravitational event going on. What does that mean? It has to do with energy and rotation and gravitation, along with the frequency and resonance of everything. We have it in our own planet and you don't really realize it. If I tell you there's 100 volts for every meter that we go up, what does that mean? That there's different zones out there. That our planet is literally zone, 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 zone. Every one of them holds its own energy. Every one of them is so close in resonance frequency as they go around, you don't really notice it. But they're all there. They all build out. What does that mean for us? In the inside core of our planet, it's going to be just like the outside core where you have plasma. That's in our planet. You want to see what's stirring stuff up? You think of all this lava? That's a bunch of horse shit. Okay? The problem with the lava event is the whole thing would have collapsed from the inside. We'd be sunken into the center and it would never work. You have to be able to build shells upon plasma. That's the way it has to work. Now, it doesn't matter if it goes on the outside of the core and creates nickel and iron. None of those things are going to work well when you go to create your gravitation. As many of you well know, you can spin a magnet all day. It ain't going to lift you off the ground at all. Okay? Why? Because it's not built that way. Nickel iron, you could make all your magnets nickel iron. It ain't going to help you for gravitation. That's not the energy being produced. It's a failure. When they started to look at Jupiter and they wanted to look at gravity, they wanted to find a core, a solid core, dirt. Okay, that's what they wanted to find. The problem is it's not. It's gases and plasma. Gases and plasma have a very, very strong gravitational feature to them. They're not held back by the dirt. Okay, they don't need that mass in that way. You see, gas and plasma are both mass. They accumulate in a pressurized container. When they go into a pressurized container, they create a form of mass. We don't realize it as mass. That's a problem. But that's exactly what they're acting like. As soon as they spin, you get a very heavy field that's going on there for gravity. It's much stronger. What does that mean for everything that we want to build out in anti-gravity? That you're going to have to follow the rules of nature. And the rules of nature have quite clearly told you must have a gravity well in order to create a gravitational feature outside of the gravitation you're in. That's what it's telling you. How do we know that? Because the sun puts out a whole gravity form that's all around us, creates this giant shell around our whole solar system, and each planet on the inside has its own gravity. That means that they separated themselves gravitationally from the sun by creating their own gravity. What are you not realizing? Those little zones that come out from the sun, spherically, go into each planet. Depending on which planet zone you're going to, the rotation of your planet changes. Okay? Because they all don't build out in the same angle. Like this. You think, oh my God, they're all building out like this. It's not physically possible. Once you build out one ring that goes like this, you build a second ring that goes out like this, what happens? The energies converge. They no longer stay individual structures. So what does that mean? It means that the secondary one has to go opposite of it. As it's going opposite, they're linked together. Just like you basically had gears in between them. As this one goes faster, this one goes faster. Then the next one goes faster. Then the next one goes faster. It's exactly why an atom builds out like that. Because they all have different structures depending on which layer you're in of each one. each one of them has a different viscosity to it. You see, this is the understanding that they're not telling you. Every time they build out that way, you're building sheath zones in between them. And those are lines of force that you normally can't see. And then our Earth goes right there to it. It builds out right onto it. Just like a plasmoid builds out on the outside of a rad, you'll see it immediately. It'll build out and swirl. Basically, all these things did as planets is take the plasmoid and put a shell around it. So the core of your Earth is a plasma core with a shell around it. Whatever that's made of. That's why it could be carbon, it could be nickel iron, it could be anything it wants to, but it has to be plasma on the inside. That's what they're not telling you. They don't understand it yet. They can't see to it. So I wouldn't expect them to understand it. But if you're in plasma physics and that's how you view the actual universe that's going on, you should really understand that fact. You see, when we build anti-gravity, you don't want to build it in plasma because that's a really hard thing to reach, but you want to build it in gas. You say, well, gas doesn't work. You can't control gas that way. Are you sure? Jupiter and Saturn do it all the time. Gas giants do it all the time. And they have a heavy gravitational field. You see, people misunderstand something right now. I'm just going to tell you this. Motion and gravity are separate. I say, well, hold on. You said all about this about rotating and stuff like that for your gravity. Yeah. But it has no direction. You gave it no vector direction to go to. It rotates. It'll sit right there. It could be absolutely no gravity on it whatsoever. You could have achieved your goal. You'll never know it. You'll never know it. You have to put a vector direction of energy to one of the sides to get it. It's funny, man. We look at this stuff and we get it all wrong. I don't know why scientists back in the day thought everything stayed the same. If you understood plasma at all and you understood how it builds out, okay, and you understand layering, that there are energy layers out there. If you want to talk conservation of energy, if you threw something in space, it has to go through all those layers. You may not see them, but it doesn't mean they're not there. They go through each one and slow down every time it goes until whatever you threw comes to a halt. Why? Because you went through layer after layer after layer of energy, and as they went through the layer of energy, it took some of the energy from it. And it took some more at the next layer, and some more at the next layer, until your object stopped. The conservation of energy is bullshit. It's a lie. That thing will slow down every single time. There's no joking about that. What's the problem? Locality. If you sit on the earth, most things are consistent, so you get the misunderstanding of locality. You don't understand that things will slow down out there because you're not out there. You're here. So to you, every experiment you do doesn't translate to out there because you just put it in a vacuum. Well, how big's your vacuum? You got a vacuum the size of Texas? We might find something. If you don't, you're not going to see any difference. Your locality is not big enough. You wouldn't see what's really going on out there. Every time it goes through there, the energy never disappears. You can't destroy it, but you can bleed it out. You could take the energy of motion right out of it with the energy fields that you go through. It's like the viscosity of things changes. As you throw something through viscosity, like oil or something, it'll slow down until it stops. That's the point. People got to start understanding the environmental conditions they're in. It's a major factor in physics, yet they don't do it at all. They think that everything's right. They think because some lady dropped their balls, we have conservation of energy. Well, conservation of energy is wrong. It is completely wrong. Things will pick up speed as well. You get on the edge of one of these things that has the energy in it, in the rotation that it's in, you'll actually pick up energy. Well, why do you think the people that are doing astronomy right now are so screwed up in the head when they have an object that comes through our universe and it starts to pick up energy and speed? And they go, well, we don't know why it's doing it. It's not in the gravitational area of the planet. Because there's an energy zone there, genius. And they went on the energy zone that they felt that their gravitation of their little rock felt to that and went and whipped it out. Okay? It's not that hard to figure out. You have to come to the understanding of what's going on first. Okay? You're hitting energy zones. We just saw the moon recently. The sun put out more energy. So the moon returned that energy. So in the sky, we saw big giant rings around the moon. What happened? All it did was give it extra energy. The sun gave it extra energy. It built out the zoning all around it, and you could see it. Was it always there? Yes. It has always been there. What's the problem? It didn't have enough energy to show you it was there. Not until that event. You see, but that's exactly why you look at photons that way. They're there, okay? On the surface structure of an item, there's energy, but there's not enough to show you the light refraction from it. So what happens? The energy builds out in zones, hits it, the thing's like a little piece, and it goes boop, like this with energy. It's exactly what it does. You see, when they talk about how things build out, if they don't talk about the spheres that are around it, they're wrong. They say, oh, it's this little wavy line. It's this little wave. That's bullshit. There's no wavy line. You see, you got to understand things in what they are. If there's spheres moving in different directions, one going this way, one going this way, if you cut that in half, then it would look like a wavy line. Is it actually a wavy line? No. But will it look like that if you cut all the spheres in half? Sure it would. But then it would give you different directions, things they don't account for as well, because they like things to be 2D. It means the wavy line wouldn't just go like this. See, it would come out like this. You see, it's direction, direction, direction. It's why we're all screwed up. Where do you actually see this in sound waves? They don't just build out straight. Every time they go around the post, they go in a different layer. Okay, but all those layers are not going straight up and down. They're going one here, one around here, as they circle this one object. There's a difference between understanding what you're doing and not. Everything does not look like it's supposed to on an oscilloscope. Oscilloscopes lie to you half the time. If you cannot correct it in your head, you're in a nightmare. Because the understanding of physics would be 2D. It's why they go out and put this big grid out and they think everything's on a grid. Why? Because their brain is trained to think 2D. I'm sorry, we're not an Atari anymore. You can take all your little Atari pictures and cram them up your cram hole. We don't need them. Okay? We know better. We already know better. Gravity isn't a suction hole that sits under the planet. Okay? I'm sorry, it does not work that way. There's no suction hole under our planet. There's no suction hole above our planet. Okay? It doesn't work that way. There's an energy zone we're sitting on, depending on whether it's on the outside or going through our planet. That's what's giving us our energy. Where we're sitting in that zone, how close we are to the sheath part of the zone. That's what matters. Okay? There's no suction hole on both sides. Whoever invented that is an imbecile. Okay? That does not work that way at all. Are there vortexes that goes on? It's the actual opposite way of what they're showing you. The vortex goes in. Think about it. You want to say the gravitational field of our planet, right? A magnetosphere goes out, back in, out, back in. Okay? Just like that. Which way is the vortex going? It's going into the planet. There's no vortex on the outside like a great big shitter on the ground, okay? It doesn't exist. The vortex is in the planet. It is not this hole that it comes down into. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. Telling people that it does, it's bad. It puts out bad physics all the way around. You may be saying that it rotates, that there's energy in it, and you are 100% correct. But putting a hole under it is just asinine. Okay? It's the dumbest way to think about it because it gives everybody an incorrect view of what it is. The vortex is flipped. That's the problem. You see a lot of the stuff out there in physics keep telling you this stuff. They keep telling you this lie. They say, oh man, yeah, we got this in space-time and it's got an X, Y, and Z axis. Great. Outstanding. How many times did you use the Z axis? Well, it was in there. We used T1 and T2 for time, but we didn't use the Z axis. Well, yeah, because you didn't understand it correctly. You have to use the Z axis. That's what gives you your third dimension. Otherwise, you got two. So you go, well, I plotted a dot here and I plotted a dot here, and I just made them a curve. Well, if you had a 3D printer, you know that that little curve right there would probably cost you about 20 lines of code. Okay, just to get from there to there. And then depending on the depth difference, there's a z-axis difference to get to that line. But if you didn't put the z-axis in there, and then you didn't put the 20 lines of code in there, guess what you get? Straight line. Every time, straight line. That's all you gave it instruction for. That's why you don't use graphs to give out geometry. You have to break it down that way if you're doing a printer. But when it comes to reality, it's much easier to simply use geometry. They talk about the mirror effects that goes on in some of this stuff. Do you actually realize what they're trying to tell you? And I don't think a lot of people do. They're talking about conservative motion, and they go and show a triangle, and they put a mirror in between it and show the both sides. What are they not telling you about the mirror at that point? Is it really simply where you can take it and flip it? Yeah. Go look in the mirror. You'll start to see the difference right away. But you say, well, it's not like triangle at all. Well, that's because in the mirror, it's you turned around, okay? Where they're trying to tell you it's flipped. You see, there's a subtlety there. You turned around, so all the words are backwards, then all the words are forwards. All the words backwards, all the words are forwards. But the triangle, they make it look like it flipped. But it really isn't that way. The correct way to understand that, if it was a flip, would be that it'd be at a different angle over here. But they're trying to say the same angle. It's the problem in physics. You're not realizing what reality is. You're putting it out there. It looks great. But if you don't understand the mechanism behind it, you don't get it. You have to really start looking at things that they're telling you, because they like to tell you the easiest answer. They like to go, man, I could dumb this down to a kindergartner's grade. You go, great. Then all the important information they cut out and give you the dumbest factors ever. So then when somebody repeats them, the physicists are looking at them like, this guy's an idiot. What the hell is he talking about? Well, it's because somebody went on YouTube and stripped down all the information down to the smallest relatable factor where you can comprehend that little tiny bit and then put it out there for you. Or they sat there and they droned you to death with a bunch of math. And before long, you were crying. You're going, God, just make it stop. Just make this video stop. I'll do anything. It's torture. It's freaking torture, man. Stop. That's what they are these days. I can't sit through them. Because you get to half of the information is wrong, then the other half is droning on and on. Okay? It's garbage. I don't like it, man. That's why I tell you the truth. I mean, look, you can believe in atoms what you want. If you want to put a bunch of balls in there, great. Are they really there? No. That would be saying, like, I have an atom, but I'm putting a bunch of atoms inside of it. Molecules don't always build out in spherical structure. I'm sorry, they don't. Okay? It's because you're compressing something in the center of them that they come out to be a spherical structure, because we are in a giant spherical structure. outside of the sun has created a giant spherical structure for us to be in an environment in. Therefore, everything is to that environmental structure. It'll always come out spherical that way. So you're compressing whatever's in that locality into the center. Then it's creating zoning on the outside as it builds out. Will they come together and sit together like this? No. Things destroy each other when they get close to that. The energies start to hit each other, and then they start to warp each other. They don't sit kindly next to each other and become partners and do the dance and hold each other's hand and go around in circles. That's not the way it works. Energy fights itself every time it goes near each other. Every time it goes near each other. If you don't create the same energy out of the same system, it'll fight each other. It's just a fact of how energy works. That's how high voltage works. That's what you're dealing with. This isn't a low voltage event. It's a high voltage event. Oh, yeah, everything is spherical, but it's not even really spherical when you think about it. And this is the problem. Everything has no symmetry to it. It's, oh, yeah, no, it has symmetry. It's a whole big sphere. I like to say sphere, but it's not exactly accurate. It's a big clump that looks like a sphere that has a bunch of wobbly stuff on it everywhere that you look. More like a golf ball, if anything. But even that's wrong because it looks like somebody took a bunch of poo and put it on the golf ball and squeezed it on there. Then you get to the real structure. Why? Because everything's rotation and a value, and it looks like a flux. It's a continuous flux on the outside. It can't have symmetry. It's a flux. Never can have symmetry. Our planet is a flux. On the outside of it's not spherical. It looks pretty. I like the pictures, but it's not true. It's a flux. It compresses in and out in different zones all over the place. It's literally a flux. So is there symmetry to it? No. No, there's not. There's none at all. It couldn't be that way. You see, this one gets me all the time. And they always say this, the sun's, and they can't say over unity. It's not, well, the sun's just got a lot of energy in it. And it keeps fueling itself. Do you really believe that? You say, well, it's got a bunch of hydrogen in it. Oh, okay, great. Next to an explosive thing on the outside? Doesn't it blow up? No. It just feeds the hydrogen. Is there a container? Container for the hydrogen? You know, last time I got my gas can next to something, it blew up. No. It all works. And it's more billions of times more powerful than your gas can. You go, hold on a minute. Then how does it work? There must be zoning involved in it. Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. What actually puts out fire? Resonance. Oh, that's interesting. So there must be resonance going on inside the sun. That's the only thing that puts out the fire. The honest to God truth is the sun is an explosive event. The time dilation is so slow that you don't notice it that way. You think of it as the sun goes from this little yellow dwarf to this white, whatever, super white thing, white dwarf or whatever you want to call it. And then it goes on and it expands out to this big red giant and then sucks up everything. Does that not make it an explosion event? That we are looking at a time-delayed explosion event that happened in a certain locality. Like any explosion, as soon as you ignite it, it sets the condition on the outside, and then the inside starts going. Yeah, that's pretty much what it's doing, isn't it? It's an explosive event. So when you go to create plasma fusion, what's the problem? Well, in order for plasma fusion to work, and let's just get this straight, the sun has to be over unity. The sun isn't over unity at all. Why does plasma fusion physics never work? Because the sun is not over unity. That's why it never works. It is not at the consistent value. It is an explosive event. Therefore, over time, there's areas in it that have more energy than when it doesn't. They say, well, no, it can't be an explosive event. This is how it works. It goes into this thing where they take this little bit of energy and it grows out to a higher amount of energy, and then it goes out into this big red thing that comes out and goes over the whole solar system, right? Then it contracts back to this little ball. That's an explosion event. The only difference is they slow it down. They literally use the fields twisting upon each other in order to create time dilation. Once you create time dilation, you can control the time of an explosive event. What is nuclear fusion without the explosion? It's time dilation. Okay, it's a very simple concept. That's what it is. In your sun is not over unity. It's in an explosive event that is putting out more energy at this point in time. That's what it is. Why does plasma fusion fail? Because they do not realize this. They think that fusion is consistent. It is not. It's not over unity. You have to continuously create an explosion event in order to pull the energy. We see this in the RAV. The RAV is a real tight-knit circle, right? It's in a very controlled explosion. Every once in a while, it'll pop. Every once in a while, it'll pop. There's an explosion event going on there. It's no different than the sun putting out, one of these big plasma things. Okay, that's all it's doing. But what happens when you give it a rod that goes in between the two on the bottom? Now I'm entangling them. As soon as I entangled them, I have one that pops, one that sucks up and pops, like this. Now I have a continuous explosion event on each side. What does that mean? That I can slow down this event, give me the most energy as it's going like this. Then let the other side pull out and get all the energy. Then the other side. Once you entangle them together, they now work like you want them to. You will now get an explosion event out of each one of them, which will give you the energy. And you pull it in explosive spikes. You go, explosive spikes? Well, that was what Bedini was about, wasn't it? That was the whole point of what he did. He pulled out explosive spikes in order to fill capacitors. Now we're getting somewhere. Now you can translate it. Why would they do this to pull out energy? Because the energy is in the spike. That's what it is. The explosive spikes that come out, the energy that's boom. Then it fills it up. No different than a lightning bolt hitting a tower going into the ground and creating telluric currents. We're doing the same thing. We're just understanding it in a more understandable way. You're pulling out the spikes. The rest of the system is unity. The spikes are where the energy comes out. Exactly what Bedini told you, but it works the same in plasma physics. As soon as you create the bottom channel of the cathode that goes in between the two, you are now creating the events to get you there. That's why the sun is an explosive event. It is plasma going outside its exterior, but when it's in a coherent form, it just goes as a RAV itself. It's a spherical structure. Do you need to create an anode and cathode? This is where misunderstanding comes from. When you set the cathode in the RAV, you are like putting a laser to it. You're putting concentrated light to it. And what it does is it responds. It responds by putting out different zones of energy. Well, did we learn that from the RAV? Yeah, we did. While everybody's over there talking about, oh my God, you got this thing that looks like Oh, it's just a bunch of camera effects, just a bunch of camera effects. We're not going to look into it as a camera effect. Well, that's your loss. Okay. There's certain things that are camera effects, certain things that are not. I'll tell you this, when you spin it, okay, and it follows it, that's not a camera effect. Okay, camera's completely still. It's not in motion. It's completely still. It follows it. What does that mean? It's meaning you're concentrating light towards an object. What happened at the end of that? Well, you got an explosive event. It exploded. Okay? In that explosion, it created the ring on the outside. It set the condition, explosion event, then it came back. It temporarily created the conditions, the same thing that the sun did. The time on it was so fast that we didn't realize it as that. But if I slowed that down, I can take 1 trillion years worth of energy out of that one moment. That's why time dilation is so important in building this. You do not get there until you break the Swinger limit. You do not create the event until you do. But you create it in gas or plasma. You do not create it in rotation of metal objects. That is a fallacy. You create it in the plasma or the gas in order to break the Swinger limit. That is a fact. You will not do it until you do. Understanding that changes what you're doing. If you want to build an anti-gravity thing, you're going to have to understand, how do I control the gases in the air? The gases are already there. You don't have to produce any one of them. You have to know the resonance frequency of the gas. Which one am I drawing in? Which one am I building? You see, it's not about the gravitation of the machine itself. You're controlling the gas. Why? Because everything that you're putting out of there when you hook a Tesla to it is radiation. Your radiation starts to structure gases. That's what it's doing. Anytime you have a magnetic field, there's also a radiation component to it. That's what's playing with your gas and plasma. That's what starts to structure it. That's what starts to build these fields. This is why I always tell you Maxwell's equations are inefficient. In every single electrical event, there is radiation. You say, well, no. It's 10 volts. Where's the radiation? This is where the misconception comes in. Science, as much as they love their math, love a rounding factor. 0.000001 is a rounding factor. Is it there? Yes. Does it look like it shows up? No. Do they discount it? Yes, they do. What's the problem with discounting an event that you know is there? As soon as you compress energy, then that little 0.001 starts moving right up the scale until it gets before the decimal point and starts to show you, hello, I'm here, buddy. I didn't go away. I'm here. That's the problem with it. When you start writing things off like they don't matter, and then they come back to bite you, it might have been good just to leave it in there and say, hey, it is present, not harmful. Okay, good. Now when we get up to the harmful stuff, we knew it was present, therefore we knew it was a field that built into it. As my voltage and amperage came down, that radiation went up. Now it's controlling the air. See, now I got capacitance in the air because now I structured the air. That's why it's important to understand for things for what they are, not what they're not. When you put rounding errors in there and write them off and throw them out because you like that equals zero, you failed. You have completely failed in understanding this project. Completely failed. It's like entropy. Entropy's in every system. It may be that 0.0001% in the beginning, but let's get that error structured. Guess what? Entropy becomes 50% of your system. You go, well, what do you mean? Well, if I'm structuring the air around it, and then I'm rotating it. Now I'm getting a hot zone and cold zone. I'm literally creating entropy. Well, I didn't create it. It was always there. Now I'm just using entropy. You go, well, that's a fascinating thought. Well, it's correct. The problem is it was always there. You just didn't have it in the right configuration. As soon as you change the environmental condition, that means you change the geometry on the configuration of anything. You change an environmental condition. Therefore, it will react and give you everything you didn't think was there now starts to show up. What does it look like in your system? Noise. But I'm sure you've all heard it. Why is he saying there's noise in my system? I can't hear it. Well, because frequency itself in any DC system ruins your system. It's noise. They write it off. It's always there. There's frequency in everything. You say, well, DC has no frequency. No, has no frequency. It's a set limit. All right, genius. How do I change that? Well, you put another set limit up here. Okay, I got 2 set limits. How do I know where the limit is? They have a different frequency. Oh. How do you know that? Oh, because I created a sine wave and it does the same thing. It goes up and down like this. It creates the frequency to drive the DC. Oh, forgive me. You used a different math formula to get there, genius? Oh, yeah, I did. Oh, what did you have in the beginning? Frequency. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, let's get it right. It's a number set in frequency that doesn't change. I'll give you that. But it's still set there. No, we do inverters. How do you make the inverter work? I stack them. Okay. I made a basic AC wave out of it. Gotcha. Different math, huh? Same goddamn thing. People bother me, man. They really bother me. Some of this stuff is easy to figure out. They don't take time to do it. You see, you can never create enough energy to do anti-gravity in the earth. And this is what AI tells you all the time. As soon as you say anti-gravity, they're saying that you're against the earth, against the gravity of the earth. That's exactly what the statement means. It's not a correct statement. You are creating a gravity well inside the gravity of the earth, never competing with the energy of the earth. You cannot create as many joules of energy as you need to create anti-gravity. I'm sorry. You can take all the brute force you want. It doesn't work. Okay? Doesn't work. What does work? Creating gravity well inside of a gravitational field, separating yourself. Just like within the sun's boundaries, each planet creates their own gravitational field. Therefore, in order to make your anti-gravity craft, you have to create your own gravitational field inside of a little bit bubble that you're making that has zoning that goes like this. You are structuring the air. Okay? You're coupling it. What does that mean? You never want to use the energy of the craft. The energy of the craft is actually just to set the structure. It is not to fill the structure. It is to build the structure. What does that mean? Why is there a distinction? You must have the same gravitational energy of the earth. Therefore, that must fill up the bubble. This is a hard thing. You're putting a boundary on it. And because it's a leaky capacitor, it's sucking in the energy. Because the inside's now a pump. It is no longer pushing things out. You create it as an impulse. Therefore, it's a pump. It's pumping the energy into it. It's pulling the environmental energy into it, creating each layer of it in its own rotation. Therefore, now you have boundary zones that are going on, and you now have an anti-gravity field. Does it mean that it's going to move up and down? Absolutely not. You've created a gravity well. You must create vector direction. You must now give it a direction in that energy. What does that mean? This field. So remember this one? I must point that thing like this. Instead of going like this, I need to point it. I need to find a way to manipulate that energy to go to one direction. I need a balanced field between these two areas to become unbalanced, to give me a direction. Balanced field to become unbalanced, to give a direction. That's it. I must create a difference. I can put circular coils on the outside. I need to energize one of them. One of them will give me a direction. I need a direction for the energy to go. I need to change that spherical structure so that I may have a direction. That's it. People say you can't pull an energy from the environment. Well, that's not true at all. Sorry, we do it all the time. Tesla talk about it all the time. It's radiant energy. You get inventors out there all the time using radiant energy. They go, well, I put an antenna on the roof and I put a spike in the ground and I took the radiant energy between them because I knew that I could put a capacitor on the other side and fill it between the two, and energy pulls out all the time. I say, well, it's very weak compared to our energy we have now. Is it? It's filled with the correct type of energy. You say you go outside, you go on magnets, 100 times stronger than gravity. But if I'm pulling in the energy from the ground and from the sky, I have the correct type of energy. It doesn't show that it's a higher level than the traditional magnet. But is it the right type of energy? You ever stop to think about that? The magnet itself is the wrong type of energy. You can't put a magnet outside and let it float. It doesn't work. It's the wrong energy. But if I'm pulling energy from the environment, I'm in the right energy. I can now contact the energy in that field. Think about that. A lot of people misunderstand what I'm trying to say when I say you're building a pump on the inside and pulling on the energy from the outside. I'm pulling the energy of the environment into it. Therefore, it interacts with the energy of the environment. I'm not pulling an energy or pushing an energy out that does not interact with the environment. You see, magnetism is the wrong energy for the environment. It's been proven time and time and time again. You mentioned John Cyril. John Cyril understood something that even the inventors of his machine that come out right now do not understand in any way, shape, or form. They build one zone on this thing and they think they got it. Let me just tell you, it's not that way at all. It's a multiple field zone. It's sheath layers. You're building sheath layers. You are literally building sheath layers. If you do not build 3 of them, you failed. You automatically fail. Why? Because the resonance frequency in between them has to go at a certain layer pace. You want to get it down to 4 kilohertz per different layer or less. They must be far enough apart to be outside the zone on each side so that each zoning can be there. That's what he realized with that machine. Why do people fail? Because they don't build it that way. They don't understand layering. They don't understand coupled capacitance. They're failing to understand what's going on in it. They think you're just rotating magnets. That's why magnetic theory pisses me off all the time. Because it's not what's going on in the environment. It is not the condition that needs to go on. Magnets are wrong. We're using the wrong stuff to do them. Somebody got a hair up their butt and said nickel iron is the way we need to do it. Nickel iron! Gotta be the way! Give me a little bit of ceramic in there. Then it fails. It's going to fail. Let's get to the heart of it. A nickel iron core, how far do you think the magnetism actually goes? Spin a magnet. Tell me how far it goes. 100 times the strength of gravity. Dumbest statement I ever heard in my life. Why? You're standing on the surface of the planet. The entire planet has a gravitational field around it, and you're yanking your crank with this little tiny magnet saying it's stronger. Well, in order for the core of the Earth itself to put out a field that goes out that far from the center, how strong does gravity have to be? Well, I don't know, 1 billion times stronger than your little yank cranker magnet here? Yeah, that's why. That's exactly why. You see, you're missing the locality. As soon as you get to the center of the planet, your little magnet ain't worth shit. Hell, you don't even have to go halfway. I don't even think you need to go a third of the way. Matter of fact, let's go to a 32nd of the way, okay? You're not getting there, buddy. Yeah, you're just not. Why? Because it's not working on that. It's a giant capacitor. It is literally taking a spatial condition and cramming it into one spot. Then it's building out zones from it. As soon as you set that condition, as soon as you set it, you set your gravitation. Gravity's emergent. Time is emergent. Every single solar system has a different time to it. Every single one of them has a different speed of light. Speed of light is the time inside of your solar system set by the sun. It sets the condition that it's in. It gives you the speed of light in there based on what it has to go through, the impedance of the energy itself. The less impedance in there, the faster the energy moves. The higher the impedance, the slower the energy moves because it all builds out in the zoning going out. It slows down and speeds up based on that. Therefore, every sun sets a condition of how fast light moves inside of that solar system. That also means that as you go to it, every universe does the same. Every cosmos does the same of that. It's all a big cycle. Everything's entangled. That's funny. All energy comes back to the source in the end. As soon as the solar system explodes, what happened? The energy goes back into the area around it, the space around it, okay? Until it gets sucked back up and goes back into the center. It won't change. It's going to be the same thing forever. Resonance is one of the highest keys to everything in the entire universe. Why? Because every ball of plasma, everything's built on it. That's why everything runs that way. You must create it to get more energy. What is resonance through your system? I don't think people understand this. Does it give you extra energy? No. Is it giving you more energy from the environment? No. It's removing impedance. It's taking all of the stuff that's in your way and getting rid of it. It's like saying you had a pipe and there's a bunch of little nodules on it, right? On the inside. And it's slowing down the water from flowing. What does resonance do? It clears out the pipe. Put some rotor-rooter in there, clears out the pipe, you go faster. Okay? The energy moves faster. That's why laminar flow is talked about when we do this, because the faster that can go, the more energy it looks like in the system. Okay. That makes resonance a really good part of anything, right? So you go, okay, I got a transformer over here. It doesn't match the resonance frequency of the transformer of the line on the outside. But if I match the two, what happens? It looks like you just went from that 50% of the energy you're getting to 90% of the energy. And you go, oh my God, I have over unity. I have it. No. You remove the impedance that's going on in there. And now the energy's flowing. And it's flowing properly. You got to realize what things are doing. A lot of times everybody thinks there's over unity. Well, what's over unity? You don't have more energy than the cosmos, so you'll never be over unity. They say, what does the cosmos have to do with it? Well, because you cannot create or destroy energy. You're only borrowing it. So when you get past the amount that you can physically borrow, and a good accounting would say the amount of energy in the universe is the total amount of energy, period. Therefore, when I get past that, I have over unity. Okay? Well, you never get to that. So over unity out. However, I'm going to say this caveat because it's very important. Can you get more energy out of a system than what you put in? And the answer is yes. You can all the time. You just have to realize what you're doing. If everything goes back into the entire planet as energy, you have the entire planet of energy to work with. How much can you pull in? We don't have the correct things to do it right. You think your generator makes energy. It doesn't. It pulls in environmental energy. What did we say about magnets earlier? They are a piss poor representation of the energy in the environment around us. What did I just tell you? I told you you're using the wrong stuff in order to pull in the environmental energy in your generator. It's wrong. Okay? It's as simple as that. How do I know that? If you go around and change your system, go over there and take yourself a block of iron, put a coil around it. You're going to get one type of energy. Take that same thing, remove the core, and put aluminum in there. You're going to get a different type of energy. Let's take out another one and put cobalt in there. You're going to get a different type of energy. Let's take it out and put titanium in there. Different type of energy. They will all show up differently on your oscilloscope. Some look weaker. They're not. They're at a different angle. You're looking at it at this angle with iron. That's what the oscilloscope is set for. Cobalt's over here. Aluminum's over here. What does that mean? You're looking at the humps going up and down this way. You're not looking at the stuff that's going in from the side. You're not looking at this angle here because your oscilloscope's not set up to see them properly. How do you know? Because your capacitor tells you that the energy is different, but it still fills up the capacitor. You go, well, that should not be possible. If it's not as strong as nickel iron, then it should not fill up the capacitor as well as the other ones. But they do. Because the world isn't built on one type of magnetism. It's built on all of them. Add copper, add silver, okay? Keep going on all your metals till you get through with all of them. And then you realize that the earth itself puts off the energy of all of them. Therefore, the environmental condition is all of them combined. What does that mean to you? Well, in order to fill out the thing properly, your card properly, you must take one or more types of environmental energy to fill everything up, to get over the limit of your system, what you're putting in. What? What did you just tell me? I simply told you that you need to take some things that look like a weak force, and they will become a very strong force to a capacitor. What does that mean? If I wanted to generate energy out of something that's already in motion, and I wanted to take advantage of that without adding too much interference to it, that means I just put magnets on the end, and I take copper and I take aluminum and put it over there as a shell around it, and let it rotate, right? To a capacitor, it may fill it up at half the speed of the other one does, but the impedance in it is extremely low. Therefore, it may take double the time to fill the capacitor with that energy, but it also did not cost me that amount of energy to build it. Think about that as you do your system. Where's the multiplication factor? Is it in the one that takes a lot to turn? Or is it one that rotates all day? The multiplication is never in the one that takes a lot to turn. It's in the one that rotates all day. It may be half, right? Well, maybe that means I put 2 on it to equal the 1. Well, that's okay, but I can always make the shaft longer. So now I can pull 4 of them instead of the 1. Now I've doubled the energy in the system, right? We got 4, they're worth half each, so 2 halves is 1, and 2 other halves is 2. Okay, I just doubled the energy in my system. Can you pull out more energy than what you put in? Yes. You have to know how to do it. You're pulling environmental energy. That's all you're doing. You have to understand that they're created differently. Is iron the only way to go? No. It's one of the most inefficient things on this planet. You literally would be better, okay? And I'm not joking about this. To take 3 legs of it and put them as iron, right? 1, 2, 3. Take another 3 legs, put them in as aluminum. Then go put another 3 legs as cobalt. Your generator will be way more powerful. You're going to pick up a ton of extra energy. And because it's created together, it now fills out a field a lot better. 1 on the top, 2 on the sides. I need a 4th. Now I can create a flow, a big ball of flow that pumps like this. Can you understand that? I'm not doing this little weenie thing. I'm a big ball of flow. Understanding what you're dealing with, guys, is an engineer's way to do things. This is why you get problems when it comes to physicists, because they're not engineers. Physicists have great ideas. They come up with great things. They calculate things. It's up to the engineers among us to put it together. As soon as you learn this stuff, you're going to be way better as an engineer. You're going to learn how things work. There's certain properties to every single element, and you must take them into account. Every time that you do it, take it into account. You're going to be way better off. Understanding what things actually are versus what they are told to be is something that you're going to have to realize. When somebody says, I want to create something that's plasma fusion, is it fusing because it naturally fuses and will continue to fuse forever? Or is it an event that's over time will go away? Know what it is. Okay? Do I want to confine something with a bunch of magnets when I get into fusion? No. Not at all. Why? You see, that's kind of the crazy thing, isn't it? Why would it be bad just to confine plasma? The energy it takes for the magnets, it's going to cost you more than what you can get out of it. Simple fact. You go, well, I'm going to put magnets in. I'm not going to put a electromagnet, so I'll be okay. What is a magnet? Energy over time. At some point, the magnet will decay. And when it decays, you're replacing it. It costs everything. You're going to be able to use it. Don't get me wrong. You just have to do good accounting and put it in there that's energy over time. Therefore, in a certain amount of time, that magnet's going to be useless. That's okay. You say, well, I can get it out of a short amount of time. I can get as much energy as I want to. Why isn't it working? Plasma naturally structures in spherical structures, and you're creating a donut. It's not natural. The energy was never in the way that you think it is. You think all the energy's in there because, oh my God, there's a great value there. The problem is to create the value, it costs you more money. Anybody who works with high voltage and created a high voltage experiment already knows this. They already know it. Don't be fooled by a magnet, okay? It takes you 60,000 volts to make this tiny little bit of plasma. Tiny little bit, like a little bit. You could fart harder in your garage and get more smell out of it, okay? There's a very little amount in it. And you go to put that in this big chamber. you're not getting much out of it. Dissipates. So you go, man, I got to take this big hose of plasma and throw it in there and create more, create more. What's the problem? Is you're making an energy event where you're continuing to add to it. What happens when you self-structure and deal with an explosion event? It renders the explosion, but then it creates an implosion as opposed to the other one. It literally takes the energy and pushes it out, and then sucks it back in and puts it in the other side of the system. And it'll continue to do it in your chamber all day long. You're pulling off the skim of it, the top. You're pulling the top part of the milk right off of it, right? That's all you want. That's all you want. That's enough to sustain you. Okay? That's all you want out of it. You're not going to get this gigantor amount of energy. It's not built that way. Everything comes at a cost. It's not free because the sun is not over unity. Therefore, creating the energy of the sun is not free. It's still going to cost you. There's other ways to trick your system to look, to have more energy in it than what you're putting in. But you got to also remember, as you're putting energy in, it's a continuous flow of energy that goes into it. It is not oh man, I took this reading and it says I got 12 volts and 4 amps. Okay, you got 12 volt, 4 amps. How long did you put that in now? What does it mean? What does it matter? Because it's good accounting. How much energy did you put in there over time to get that result? See, this is why looping fails. You don't account for that. You say, well, my system puts out this. I put in 10 volts and 2 amps, and I got 20 volts and 4 amps. I doubled it. Okay. At a snapshot in time, you doubled it. Absolutely. In the overall running of the actual thing, did you double it? No. Why? Because that energy is going to dissipate. As soon as you create the dissipation rate in it, like running a load, you eliminate the over unity portion of it. Oh, doesn't that suck? Looping means looping. It must run the energy that comes out of it, not a trick, not a snapshot in time. It must go in, turn back around, and run your unit. Okay. Now look, you could do tricks out there to transform the energy on the back side of it to make it look different going into the system. Absolutely works. And it'll create enough energy to run your system. Okay. You have to know how to do it. You have to take those explosions in time and capture them. Why does a piezo buzzer work so good? Oh, doesn't everybody want to know this? Piezo buzzer is a capacitor explosion at a moment in time. Think about what I'm going to tell you. Barium titanate is an amplification to the energy of your system in a short burst. It is a fast fill, fast dump cap. That's what that is. What does that mean to your system? It will pull a spike out of your system or add to your system anytime that you could take the core and fill it. You fill it, boom, it hits it, doubles it. Then the core goes back to normal. Think about that. Patini's pulling out the spike. You must pull out the spike of energy. Therefore, a fast fill, fast dump capacitor means that at high rise time, very fast fall time, it immediately gives you a giant jolt of energy into your capacitor. Immediately. It's all put in one spot. And then it continuously happens over time. It makes it fill faster. That's why you do it. That's why you put them in your system. Not a lot of people realize that. They think, oh, it's a piezoelectric disc, so it's putting off sound. Some of them are putting off sound. Some of them are built more like a capacitor. It's up to you to know the difference. Yeah, but there's still sound coming out of them, sure. Is it the same amount? No, some of them are built like capacitors. They make this stuff in electronics all the time. They hide it in there. You don't even realize it's in there. You have to understand how material science works in order to understand it. What does that mean for the rest of your system? Well, based on what you put in it for the correct caps, it can mean all the difference in the world to what you're getting. You took some things, man, and you see them in a patent somewhere for an over unity device, and it shows capacitors. So you go, man, I got some capacitors on the shelf. What if they're the wrong kind? Oh, it says diode. I better get a diode off the shelf. What if it's the wrong kind? Why are there no resistors in any one of those patents? Well, because the resistors is a waste of energy. They dissipate in heat. They're converting your voltage to amperage. And as soon as they do that, they create hysteresis, which creates heat, which means that you stop flowing, you lose energy. That's why they're never in over unity patents, ever. They can convert it just by changing the sine wave of it. They do not need a resistor. The resistor is there to change your voltage and amperage by changing your frequency inside of it. You don't need to do that because the way they do it is much like a capacitor build and lets out heat everywhere. You don't want that. You want as many coils as you can get in there in order to create resonance in between them so that you can get the flow moving faster. That's what you want. You want it connected to the ground. You want it connected to an antenna. You want to be able to pull out that energy that's radiant energy and put it into a capacitor. Literally, and I'm not joking about this, you could literally go over and take one of these big skyscrapers and take the energy that comes out of it, just sitting in the sky, doing absolutely nothing, just with the lightning pole that they put up there, right? It'll pull it in, go over to the ground, okay? And where it goes into the ground and dies it out, put a capacitor in between it. What happens? That thing, man, will fire up like nobody's business. All kinds of energy. Why? 100 volts per meter is why. You're going to be pulling that directly through there. Why does it have to go to the bottom? Because it's your cathode in the situation. It's a natural anode cathode relationship between the sky and the ground. You're putting a capacitor in between it, pulling out the energy. It's funny because every time you talk about anti-gravity, you're talking about a capacitor, aren't you? Yes. Yes, I am. Why? Because it deals with environmental energy. It pulls the energy in. It's a capacitor. Asymmetrical capacitor. Open air capacitor uses the structured air around it in order to fill the capacitor inside of it. It is a natural gravity well. You'll never hear a physicist say that because they don't understand it. It takes someone working with this stuff for a long time, creating these fields to even get close to the understanding that you would have to get that. If you're dealing with environmental conditions in a capacitor, you're pulling in the energy all around you to create the capacitance between it. It's what fills it up. 360-degree sphere is absolutely 100% necessary. Without it, you'll never get anything done. You don't build them in squares. You don't build them in donuts. You don't screw around and talk about those things. You build it in the spherical structure, and then it'll give you this on the outside, which means it's oscillating, and you're good to go. Okay? It's as easy as that. A lot of people, I hope you understand it. I know a lot of people out there don't. They fight you on it. They'd rather have the argument about something stupid in the system than the actual way that it works. I see it all the time. So irrelevant arguments about it all the time. Okay? Why don't you use this, or why don't you use that, or why aren't you doing this? Well, because they don't work. They don't work. I've tried them all. They don't work. Okay? There's only certain ways certain things work. Why can't you say a magnet to define an electromagnet? Because they're completely different. A magnet is a frequency, voltage, and amperage set in time that decays at a certain rate. That's what the magnet is. When you have a field and everything in the earth, you have an electromagnet. You have the energy pushing out as it tries to pull back in, pushes out as much as it tries to pull back in. That's your gravity. Your rotational rate inside that is like a conductor. Okay? Just like this. You set your gravitational rate. It's as simple as that. The less mass something has, the more gravity it has. Mass is an impedance. Does it make gravity stronger? No. It makes it weaker. You're going to have more gravity out of a gas giant than you're going to have out of a rocky surface on a planet. I don't think anybody should argue with that. When we see these great gas giants that we have, then you sit there and you turn around and you go, oh my God, this gas giant has huge amounts and then this rocky planet doesn't. Yeah. Excuse me. That's exactly right. So why would you want to make your fields out of gas and plasma? Well, I don't know, because they're stronger. They seem like a weak force when they're not. It seems that we have a problem with that because we judge energy based on the voltage and amperage coming out of the wall. Have you ever seen them create this stuff? You ever understood it? You see the giant spark gaps they got going on in there? Do you understand why it works on the poles and why birds don't fall off? Why things aren't dead? It's not interacting the way you think it is. And high voltage in itself doesn't work the way you think it does. I know a lot of people talk about structured water. What is structured water? Well, it's the same thing as structured air. You're taking, I don't want to say this. You're taking the radiation and put it in the water. That's why you don't discount it at low voltages. You're taking the radiation and putting it into the water. This is why you do not discount at low voltage, because radiation appears. It shouldn't, according to physics. It does. It structures the water. What happens when you turn around and you put impulse energy into that? It destructures the structure you just built. It's a crazy event that goes on, but that's what it does. You see, you're playing with things in the water you didn't realize you're playing with. There's impulse energy that goes into water, not very harmful. As a matter of fact, plants love it. The veins in the plants open up and they get more water to each one of the leaves and they grow faster. When you add regular hot energy into it, what happens? It constricts it and kills the plant. That's what happens. You have to know which energy you're working with. And did you convert it in your system and not realize it? Oh, that's a big one. There's a lot of energy that's converted and you don't realize it's going on because you don't understand the environmental condition you created. Therefore, you don't understand when your energy changes. A lot of people get in trouble like this. They go, oh, well, I put it through water. Let me change your environmental condition. Oh, I left it in open air. You change your environmental condition. I left it in the wire. You created environmental condition. I put it in the spherical structure. Environmental condition. You're starting to get it? Every time you put it into something, you change the condition. Therefore, you change what you're going to see in your voltage and amperage. It shows up in noise. I got noise in my system. I shouldn't have any noise in my system. Well, that's why your oscilloscope goes perfect wave to this. And you're going, well, I don't understand that. Well, it's because you've got noise in your system. Somewhere you're creating it. Something is creating. You did not turn around and fix that problem right away. You just said, well, it's running. That's good enough, but it's not. It's really not. For those who understand it, their system comes out correct and clean. For those who try to violate that law, well, guess what? Your stuff, it has a ton of heat coming off of it. You got to use all kinds of fans to cool it. And eventually it'll break down faster. I just thought the companies did it so they can replace the parts. I wouldn't think that they'd be stupid. You know what I mean? I just thought, hey, we'll make a break in 5 years. You know what I mean? You have to buy a new one. Don't put it past anybody. I wouldn't say that they would be stupid enough not to realize this. But then again, maybe that's how their business model works. We got to keep getting new customers. So let's leave it the old way and let it break. And I think that's honestly what it is. I mean, you do realize when they come out with chips, there's a base level that they give you in the beginning, but then there's a level at the end. Did the chip really change? No, not really. They unlocked it. Well, what do you mean they unlocked it? Well, they let you use the available energy that's in it now instead of hindering it to one level. Well, why would they do that? Well, so they could sell you another unit next year. They'll just keep using the same technology. They'll just release more of it, and they'll put another number on it. It's kind of like how Windows works. It's the same old crap it was back in Windows 98, 95, but now it says Windows whatever number. Yeah, that's about how it works. Then they get into your system and take more of your stuff, and they try to control your life and everything else, and everybody just rejects it. They could have made this thing a whole lot easier a long time ago, man. Just make the base. We don't need you to do anything else. I don't need any of your other programs. Just make the base. Then I'll get the programs that I like. I'll just simply buy them. Which is another thing I hate. You're renting the program. We actually own it. Dude, middle finger to every one of you that do that. I hate those people. I absolutely hate them. Dude, if I buy it, it's mine. I get to modify it and do what I want with it. I'm not renting it from you. Whoever let that one go through in Congress should be fired. Every last one of them voted for that. You need to get out. I don't like you. You're costing me more money and I don't like you. Yeah, that's the one thing. I don't mind some of the stupid stuff and stupid programs you guys put stuff up for. Don't cost me money. Because then I won't like you. I just absolutely won't. Sorry. I'll vote you out. And I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. I'll still vote you out. Because I just don't care. Okay? Just don't care. I have no loyalty in that way. I'm sorry. You cost me money and you're out. Anyway, whatever. We get on from that. Get back to energy. Anyway, guys, I'm just trying to tell you some things that you should know about this stuff. In the atom, do you have little balls in there? Likely no. Do you have zones on the outside? Yes. Do you have plasma in the center? Yes. Um, uh, I don't know what else to tell you about that, but you're gonna hold on one second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about atoms and stuff like that. Most likely, what's at the center is there's like a just a compressed zone of whatever's in the environment, and on the outside that they're layered. It's like Russell said the whole time. I think he was absolutely right in what he said. He's one of the only few people that get it. The resonance zones of everything matter, and they all create the different elements that are going on everywhere. I mean, that's really what's going on, guys. We looked at this stuff. If you ever take a RAV picture or some video that I have, download it and then go into Canva and do a background remover on it. And take a look at the structure on the inside. And what you'll start to see is inside it looks like a void. And you go, well, why would there be a void in there? It's just dark. There's nothing. No matter how much I zoom into it and everything, it's a void. Well, that's because I don't think there is anything in there. It's just compressed environment. So if you're telling me, gas comes out in little balls, then maybe you got a bunch of balls in there. But I don't think so. Gas does not come out that way. They don't create little balls everywhere. Electrons is a whole other thing, man. Electrons in atoms, electrons in plasma, things like that exist. Electrons in your wires do not exist, guys. I hate to tell you that. I hate to be the one to break the bad news to you, but they don't exist. Sorry, no little balls available. No little balls available to you tingle, okay? They don't exist. They don't. Energy on the outside of a wire flows. It's a field, okay? It's a layered field that goes all the way down. It is not little balls. Do you know what the test is for an electron? They took this plasma. I'm not joking with you on this. They take this plasma ray, and it did this. Okay? Got it. What the hell did that have to do with little balls? Plasma? Went like this. Well, it created a negative. Yes. Understand that. Creates a negative in the system. So it goes in one direction. Got it. Where the hell are the little balls at? Well, they're in there. They bump each other's ass every time they go through the wire. Oh, bullshit. They go around the wire. The whole thing is a field that goes around the wire. There's no little balls in there. You're not playing bumper butt to get to the other side. It's a field that builds on the outside of the wire, and as soon as you clamp that field down, it creates a ton of heat in it. And what does that do? It sets off your breaker at all times. Always does it. That's why on a hot day, it takes less to get this thing to kill your stuff. So on a cold day, you can run your air conditioner and not set it off, but on a hot day, you can't. Why? Because it has to do with the amount of heat in there. The heat immediately is directed towards the amount of amperage that goes on in your system. You're creating hysteresis in reverse in order to get this thing to cramp down on it and create that lock that shuts down your system. That means the energy's on the outside. You don't get that long if you're bumper button your way over to the other side, it would become irrelevant. There would be no lock, they would be irrelevant. It wouldn't stop the bumper button all the way from these little balls of electrons going down, okay? It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. When somebody tells me there's electrons in the system, is it really? Do you guys know what the ether is? It's an interesting question. I've heard a billion people say it. Do you understand what it is? Think it's a torus spinning donut? Interesting concept. Nature doesn't make donuts. We do. How does it work? Love to know. I think we have a misunderstanding of what the ether is. The ether is the energy all around us. It's not the center of your donut. Now, don't get me wrong. You could make a coil and make the center of the coil and pull energy right out of the center. It's the impulse zone of your coil. That's where you're getting your energy from. The outside's a pulse zone. The inside's the impulse zone. And yes, you will get energy from it without a problem. Okay? And that happens in the Rodin coil. It happens in geometry coils. All of it. And you know it's there, and you know how it builds out. Basically, when you put DC in any one of those coils, and you put it at, 8.75 in your frequency on hertz, and it'll rotate magnets. Little party trick, kind of cool, but it tells you where the field lines are going. Therefore, the field lines overlap in the center of any Rodin coil along with any geometry coil in order to create that zone that goes on in there, which means multiple layers of energy that go on there. Doesn't mean it's an ether. It simply means that's where the energy goes. It's a compound energy field made of the same energy, continued to add on top of one another in order to create more energy out of it. It's interesting. Is it the ether? What is the ether? Is the ether simply the dielectric field that goes on in everything? Now think about what I'm trying to tell you here. Is it simply the energy field that goes on in between things? Is that the ether? If we set the outside condition, everything on the inside would appear as the ether. But if we go up for 100 volts for every meter, is the ether really just the electrical field and a magnetodielectric effect? Think about it. We know it's not the magnetic effect. The magnetic side of it actually crimps up and stops you from doing anything. See, this is why magnets themselves don't work. It's got to be an electromagnet, because as soon as you spin something, it's how the magnetics and electric work. The electric field automatically comes out and sets a condition. The magnetic is pulled out to it and snaps back. So what's the condition set by? Set by the dielectric, by the voltage. It's at the ether. It's an interesting concept to understand, but does the shape matter? Well, in nature, it's spherical. Okay, it looks like an orange. When you peel an orange and look at it and how you see each slice coming out, that's basically how the world looks, kind of. Okay, the energy lines that come out of it. They come out of it and come back in. Go out of it and come back in, just like this, right? And it goes like an orange does. It's not a donut. It's not Dunkin' Donuts over here. It's an orange. It pulls out like an orange. We'll say that's just a donut going into a spherical shape. Some days it's a freaking orange, okay? It's a spherical shape, and it has energy zones that go in at the top. Again, remember our vortex, it's not down like a crap hole. It's in like an orange does, okay? It's a bit differently. The energy passes through the center, so therefore the center of the earth is the ether. I give you no fault in that whatsoever. It's 100% there. But is it just the electrical field where the center of the entire thing is a magnetic field, and you're dealing with the electrical field in rotation through a planet? Is it coming out up this end, back around the other, and back around? All like this. And you say, well, if the center's spinning, and it takes a hold of anything in the air, or the air creates radiation in it, and then it structures it so then it would come down and spin, come out the other side, go back around, come in, spin in the center, go back out, come back around the other side. That's plausible. That I believe. Do I think there's a donut in there? No. Is there a vortex that goes like this, like a big poo hole? No. Those are wrong concepts. It's like an orange. Energy in one side spins, out the other side spins, just like that. It's actually how a magnetic field would look if you could see it. But what's the difference? It's not a set magnet. It's an electromagnet. It's energy moving. Magnets are simply a frequency of voltage and amperage set into the metal at one time, which is something, it's something that you should understand in physics. if you go over and do that to a piece of granite, you could tap on the side of it like a sounding drum. And it makes the entire rock sound different. When you start realigning things in there like you would making a magnet, in a piece of granite, you could tap on the outside like a drum. It'll start making sound and frequency coming out of it that are not natural to it. It seems like it's hollow. When you cut it, it's absolutely not hollow at all. It's the same structure as a regular piece of granite. But you've realigned things in there. You realign the poles of things. What does that mean? Same thing as an electric does. I mean, think about it. You're making the same structure as an electric. You're setting a frequency, voltage, and amperage inside of an electric, and you're keeping it to go there. You're taking the vector direction that's all crazy and create it in one line. Okay? It goes in one direction. When you take an electric out of the aluminum, what happens? It goes all over the place again. Okay? It takes time for the decay rate to kick in. As soon as it kicks in, it starts to decay the line. Therefore, the vector direction becomes cattywampus again, right? Well, what do you have to do? You have to put it back in the aluminum, which realigns the poles. Therefore, the aluminum is acting as the structuring agent for the energy to keep the poles aligned. Put aluminum at the top and bottom and wrap a piece around several times. You're going to create a pathway for the energy to keep flowing in order to keep the vector direction the same the entire time. That's it. You have now given it flow where it didn't have it before. In a magnet, it stays because the material science of the stuff going in there is better for that purpose. When you get into electrodes, it's a weak field that goes in there. We don't have the right coupling that goes in there in order to create that correctly. That's why you see them using a bunch of different materials in there in order to find the great coupling where it stays in there all the time. Generally comes out of alignment. Yeah, torus shape, man, it's fascinating and all. It's just a wrong one. It's not natural to nature. You're compressing that with a lot of magnets to get it there. Build out plasma, builds out in the sphere. By the way, I think it's hilarious. People don't understand this. Ball lightning, what is it? Well, as I tell you, they say it in the question all the time. During a lightning storm, we had ball lightning. When we go up in the air, it's 100 volts per meter. Zoning. In an anode-cathode relationship, I got plasma that built up in a spherical structure. Therefore, the rotations that are going on in each layer per 100 volts, it caught one of them and built plasma in it while it's sucking in the anode effect. Then what happens? The storm dies down, right? So where's this thing supposed to go? Well, these things that are now the fields here have now got less energy in them. They can no longer hold that thing. So where does it go? It goes anywhere looking for energy. And it'll finally go off some little corner, and the energy inside of it dissipates and it goes away. That's it. You created a satellite in a system between an anode and a cathode, and it got spun by the 100 volts per meter because each layer starts to spin. And as soon as you knew that, you knew what ball lightning was. It's a plasma event that happens, and that's exactly what it is. But what's a plasmoid? As you're sitting inside this spherical structure that it builds out and it has these layers, they get these little things that look like little bubbles, and those are the plasmoids. By all means, they're not the outside layers that look pretty. In that picture, there's these little tiny little dots. Why? Because they ripped off from the sphere going around them, and they created a little self-running energy. And it's going to dissipate and die, just like ball lightning is. It's the same event. You change the environmental condition, What happens in the RAV? It builds out a satellite. That satellite catches the end of that field right there and builds. And when you let it go, it'll just meander off or it'll die, depending on how much energy is concentrated in it before it leaves. That's it. Is the environmental condition feeding it? Because you never see them growing. They let out energy, but they're not growing. Why? Because you're not creating the condition in the inside in order for the environmental condition to keep feeding it. So they'll just meander off and die. You get something in a thunderstorm generator, and supposedly, again, I haven't built the thing, so I wouldn't know, but supposedly it's creating these ball lightning. What is that? It's a simple plasma structure that builds inside that hit a field in a spherical structure that build out energy from the center all the way out in these different zones. And on each layer, it caught one of the layers and spun. And what does it do? It creates, you know what I mean, in the sides of things, it starts engraving in it. That's what it's doing. We did the same event in 3 different ways. We changed the environmental condition. I did not change the energy yet. I simply changed the environmental condition. I changed the structure it was within. I didn't change the energy. Are they different? Absolutely. What's the commonality? The energy. What's the thing that makes them different? The environment. Yeah. Ball lightning is just a simple event. It's not very difficult to understand. Once you understand it, people creating the lab should be a lot easier, shouldn't it? It's just like fusion. Understand it correctly as an explosion event, you're going to be able to pull out the energy. You just got to understand how. Take all the crap that they told you, 100% of it, fill it up with a bucket, and go out and dump it in your sewer, okay? Right in your septic tank where it belongs. All of it, okay? Take that big book you read about all the failures in fusion, all that poo, take all that poo and put it in a bucket, go dump it in the septic, okay? Because that's about as good as it's worth. You might as well write it 101 ways for dummies to fail at fusion. Don't start over here and start reciting me every way fusion's built. And then when I ask you at the end, did they get more out than what they put in? And you tell me no, you've wasted a lot of my time. Just understand what you did. You gave me a pile of poo that didn't work and gave me a giant lecture on it, and none of it works. At least you could have satisfied me with a happy ending. Okay? No, nothing in this story was happy. Everything failed. Well, then why should I do anything that they did? Yeah, build it once, see where they failed, see what went on in it, what the good things were of it. The rest, dump it. Flush it, get the plunger if you got to. Get rid of that stuff. I mean, look, I get told all the time, oh, you got to use modern physics. You got to use modern physics. They have all the answers. You got to use modern physics. Yeah, my ass. Okay? Not a chance. I'm going to build it how it wants to be built. As you see it, you follow it. You follow the energy. You follow the flow of the energy. You understand what it's doing. You see the impedances in it. You correct the impedances in it. You make things go faster. You make things can pull more energy out of the system than what it normally does. You find it where it gets 99%. You do not follow the same recipe that led you down the road of poo. Okay? We're not making poo bricks. We're not going to be skipping on the road of poo. It's not going to happen. Okay? I refuse to do it. I will not do it. Now, will I use terminology in physics? Absolutely. But will I go down the road of poo? No. Not a chance, guys. Those days will never happen. Okay? If the system says that it runs with water, great. If it says it runs without water, great. Which one is the correct one that I want? Well, the path of least resistance is the one that I want. I don't need water if it says I don't need it. I don't need an extra factor in there. Now, if I wanted to add something extra to the system, then water is the perfect conduit to add something to the system. But I'd have to have a good reason. I mean, that's where chemistry comes in. If you just want to add water, it's a waste of my time. If you want to add water with some chemistry in it, then now you're making it interesting. Now you have my attention. Okay? It's as simple as it gets, guys. That's the way things work. That's why I build out the systems the way I do and try to follow as many pathways as I specifically can for an inventor who makes them that particular way. And I'll build it authentic. Then I'll fix it. I'll find out where the flaw is. I'll find out where it can be amplified. I'll find out what else there is to it, just like I did with that Tesla coil. I'm going to run it in 50,000 different configurations until I find out what secrets it holds. Heck, I'm working on a Tesla coil right now to reduce it into the hertz because I can't see the concept of using anything in kilohertz for what we're trying to do here. We need to get it into the hertz level, so I'm working on that right now. Yeah, you got to unfill your head. I mean, look, I wish people all the best in this world that looked up a bunch of science papers and say that they have it. God bless you. I don't believe it. Okay? I've done enough to know better. I come from a place of building things, not from a place of I read a book. Reading a book's fine. Go read a book and tell me how farming works. And then get out there and when you're 90% of your crap doesn't work, tell me how farming works again. That's the difference. All the things they say in there are the things that made it through final edit, but doesn't mean they're all true. It doesn't mean that your environment's the same as them. You say, oh, well, they were in a volcanic field. I'm in a dirt field. Okay? Oh, well, yeah, the condition matters, buddy. Okay? Go farm it again and find out. Okay? You tell me when you're done. Bothers me. Really bothers me, man. I love people to death, man, but build it. You have my full attention. I love engineers, man. Really do. They build everything. You know what I mean? And I don't mind if you build an old thing. I'll still watch it. Dude, I'll sit there and watch something that's built old school. If you take all the right proper time in it, absolutely, I'm there. 100% there. I like to see work like that. Kind of kind of like how you start watching a channel and you don't know why. You're just like, well, the guy works awesome. Do I care what he's building? Absolutely not. Do I like the way he works? Yes. So I'm going to watch it. Simple as that. Find myself in the situation all the time, guys. I used to be a cabinet maker, so if you're out there and you're building something out of wood, and I stumble upon your channel, and you got all these cool tools that I never had, I'm watching your channel because I enjoy it. So, kind of like, what was that, American Restoration we all watched? He went from casino machine man to dirt bikes to, big pumps for gas and things like that. We could care less what it was as we enjoyed the channel because the personalities on it and the guy there. I love that show, man. So, I don't know. Anyway, guys, it's been about 2 hours. I think I'm done, yelling out to the universe today. I thank everybody for watching, man. I'm sorry I didn't take a lot of stuff from the comments and the chats and everything. Kind of some things that just bother me, so I can try to get them off my chest. Hopefully it was entertaining for you guys. Hopefully you learned something. You can put something into practice. By any means, man, if you if you have something that you would like me to take a look at and want to share it on there, I'll put you up here and show it, man. Not a problem. Also out there, guys, I want to say something. Dead Fish Cheese Spread. It has a live tonight. He's one of the members of my channel. Go over and check it out. Dead Fish Cheese Spread is having a live tonight, and he does a really cool UFO thing, man. And this is his third one that he's doing. Really awesome work on it, man, on the last couple. So, yeah, we're going to have to watch that tonight. And shout out Papa Bale out there. I'll get with you, man, in the next couple weeks. Right now, I'm super busy. And then we'll talk about a bunch of stuff and go over something. If you want to maybe do next Monday, come on and hang out with me. You don't have to show everything if you don't want to on what you're doing. You just want to come and talk shop and hang out with me, man. On next Monday, we can do that if you're up for it. Yeah, I'm all good. We'll figure out what's going on. I'll be honest with you, man. Building these pulse motors is a reality check of what's going on. There's a lot of things that everybody talks about things. Then you really realize once you start building them what's going on. And I think that's drastically important for all of science, man. So, yeah, what's up, Yanni? Sorry you missed it, buddy. But, yeah, that's cool, man. Let's hook up. Just get me with me on email, man, and we'll set it up for Monday, and we'll just talk shop. So that's cool with me. So anyway, Dead Fish Cheese Spread out there, man. I wish I had the link over here. I would put it out there for you. But just take a look for him, man. He's doing that live tonight. So with that said, guys, very awesome, man. Have yourselves a great night.
The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man Bill. The old man builds. The old man builds is broken in the head. People not seeing reality has put them in the red. Where conscious and spirituality been stricken from the norm and replaced with the ignorance of basic magnetic form. The geometry of God keeps running through his head. That's what makes old man builds broken in the head. The old man builds. The old man builds. Spheres of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. The old man builds. Fears of destiny are spinning in his mind, making him travel back and forth in time, battling the establishment for just a little recognition. Has him forcing the world to understand his premonition. That world will have all the technology in the end, even if it means his life will fail to extend. The old man builds.